است. بار کن گر همه برپست و اگر باران است. کم خودگیر به خیل و رمه برمیگردیم. بار کن جان برادر همه برمیگردیم.
He was in effect accusing the established leadership of the Islamic world of the day of a kind of false consciousness, upholding in these marvelous, very well-funded public debates in front of the Sultan, or whether it be thundering from the pulpits or in retreats, of a kind of hypocrisy, that they were not practicing what they preached, that for all of their intellectual brilliance, their hearts were, as he says, dark and ruinous. And he saw that as being a fundamental challenge and a threat to the integrity of Islam. He saw it as having dangerous political consequences. He saw it as having consequences for the credibility of mainstream Orthodox Islam as opposed to esoteric or sectarian alternatives. And he also saw it in himself, because he was pointing the finger first and foremost at himself. And of course his great crisis is precisely about his suspicion that he is not practicing what he preaches.
We are living in a time like his time, when religion had become stale, religion had become didactic, religion had become a dry practice of argumentation, dialectic debate amongst students. Imam al-Ghazali, I think, of all of his achievements, and we can see this in his own autobiography, one of the things that he really set out to do was end argumentation for argumentation's sake.
I was distressed by what was going on in the capital of the empire. I decided to speak out, and I condemned the hypocrisy of those surrounding the caliph. I was critical of Islam's religious and political leaders. I was determined to unveil the truth in its entirety.
He really recognized the spiritual pathology of the desire of the ego and the self to overcome one's opponent. And he wanted to get back to something much deeper, which is not that I am entrenched in my personal opinion, agenda, political position, and I have no recognition of my opponent, but to recognize that my opponent and myself must together be in search of the truth. And if the two of us are in search of the truth, we can speak. But if we are in search of self-aggrandizement, if we're in search of some ego-stimulating experience, of overpowering my debater, then we come to nothing. And because he was a man that could win any debate, he knew how important it was that the ego could not be the object, that the ego must be set aside in order for that debate to come to some kind of fruition.